Have you ever noticed that some people seem completely comfortable making decisions without explaining themselves to anyone? They don't write long messages trying to justify their actions. They don't spend hours defending their choices. They don't feel the need to convince everyone that they're right. Instead, they simply make a decision, accept the consequences, and keep moving forward. That's exactly how Sigma men operate. In a world where most people constantly seek approval and validation, Sigma men follow a different path. They understand that no matter how much you explain yourself, some people will never understand your perspective. Others will judge you before you even speak. And some people aren't looking for understanding at all. They're simply looking for something to criticize. A Sigma male learns this lesson early in life. He realizes that constantly explaining himself often comes from a hidden desire to be accepted, approved of, or understood by everyone around him. But the truth is, that's impossible. No matter what you do, someone will disagree with you. Someone will misunderstand you. Someone will question your decisions. Once a Sigma understands this reality, he stops wasting energy trying to satisfy everyone. Instead, he focuses on staying true to himself and living according to his own values. This doesn't mean Sigma men are arrogant or disrespectful. It doesn't mean they think they're better than anyone else. In fact, the reason is much deeper. Sigma men simply understand that their time and energy are valuable. They know that endless explanations rarely change people's minds. People who respect you will usually try to understand your perspective. People who don't respect you will often ignore your explanation no matter how clear it is. That's why Sigma men prefer to let their actions speak louder than their words. Rather than spending their lives defending every choice they make, Sigma men focus on building themselves. They work on their goals, strengthen their mindset, improve their skills, and create a life they're proud of. They understand that confidence doesn't come from convincing others that you're right. Real confidence comes from trusting yourself even when nobody else understands your decisions. In today's video, we're going to explore * 10 reasons Sigma men never explain themselves. These reasons reveal the mindset, self-respect, and quiet confidence that make Sigma men different from most people. As we go through these points, pay close attention. You may recognize some of these traits in yourself, or you may finally understand why certain people seem impossible to manipulate, pressure, or control. And trust me, the number one reason is the most powerful of them all. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more Sigma mindset, psychology, and self-improvement content. Now let's get started with 10 reasons Sigma men never explain themselves. 10. They know not everyone will understand. One of the biggest reasons Sigma men rarely explain themselves is because they understand a simple truth: not everyone is going to understand them. Most people see the world through their own experiences, beliefs, and limitations. No matter how clearly you explain your decisions, some people will still misinterpret your intentions. Sigma men learn this early in life. They realize that trying to make everyone understand them is a never-ending battle that wastes time and energy. Instead of seeking universal approval, a Sigma focuses on staying true to his values. He knows that some people will support his decisions while others will criticize them. Neither reaction changes what he believes is right. This mindset gives him a level of freedom that many people never experience. He stops feeling responsible for how others interpret his choices. Many people explain themselves because they fear being misunderstood. A Sigma accepts that misunderstanding is sometimes unavoidable. He would rather spend his energy building his future than defending every decision he makes. This doesn't mean he never communicates. It simply means he understands the difference between healthy communication and endless justification. When he realizes someone is determined not to understand him, he stops explaining and moves forward. In the end, he knows that his life is not meant to be understood by everyone. It is meant to be lived according to his own principles. 9. They value their time and energy. Sigma men understand that time and energy are limited resources. Every conversation, argument, and explanation requires mental effort. That's why they are extremely careful about where they invest their attention. Many people spend hours trying to justify themselves to people who have already made up their minds. A Sigma sees little value in that. He knows that every minute spent defending his decisions is a minute that could be used improving his life. Whether it's working toward a goal, learning a new skill, exercising, or simply enjoying peace of mind, there are far better uses of his energy than constant explanations. This perspective allows him to stay focused on what truly matters. A Sigma doesn't avoid communication because he's antisocial. He avoids unnecessary communication because he respects his own time. If a discussion is productive and leads to understanding, he'll participate. If it turns into endless criticism or judgment, he'll walk away. He understands that not every opinion deserves a response. This habit often makes Sigma men appear calm and disciplined. While others become trapped in cycles of argument and justification, the Sigma quietly continues progressing toward his goals. By protecting his time and energy, he avoids distractions that slow down personal growth. That's one of the reasons Sigma men often accomplish more than people who constantly seek approval. 8. They don't need constant approval. Many people explain themselves because they want approval. They want reassurance that their decisions are acceptable. They want others to tell them they made the right choice. Sigma men operate differently. They don't depend on external validation to feel confident about their actions. A Sigma male understands that approval is temporary. One day people support you, and the next day they criticize you. If your confidence depends on other people's opinions, you'll constantly be adjusting your behavior to please them. Sigma men refuse to live that way. Their confidence comes from within. Because they trust themselves, they don't feel compelled to explain every move they make. If they decide to change careers, end a relationship, move to a new city, or pursue an unusual goal, they don't need everyone to agree. They simply do what they believe is best. This independence often confuses people. Some mistake it for arrogance. In reality, it's self-trust. A Sigma doesn't assume he's always right, but he also doesn't need constant reassurance from others. He accepts responsibility for his choices and understands that mistakes are part of growth. When a person no longer depends on approval, the need for endless explanations disappears. That's why Sigma men are often comfortable making difficult decisions without seeking permission or validation from the people around them. 7. They let their actions speak for them. Sigma men believe that actions are far more powerful than words. Anyone can make promises, create excuses, or give long explanations. What truly matters is what a person does. That's why Sigma men prefer to let their behavior speak for itself. When someone questions a Sigma's decisions, he rarely feels the need to defend himself. Instead, he focuses on producing results. He understands that success is often the strongest answer to criticism. Rather than arguing about his potential, he works quietly until his achievements become impossible to ignore. This mindset also protects him from unnecessary conflict. Many people waste time debating their intentions. A Sigma understands that actions reveal character more accurately than explanations ever could. Over time, people learn who he is through observation rather than conversation. There is also a practical advantage to this approach. Actions are difficult to fake. Words can be manipulated, misunderstood, or forgotten. Consistent behavior tells a much clearer story. That's why Sigma men focus on living according to their values rather than constantly talking about them. In the end, a Sigma knows that people may doubt his words, but they cannot ignore his results. By allowing actions to speak louder than explanations, he builds credibility and respect without needing to constantly defend himself. 6. They refuse to argue with closed-minded people. One reason Sigma men rarely explain themselves is because they recognize when a conversation is pointless. Some people genuinely want to understand different perspectives. Others simply want to be right. A Sigma quickly learns the difference. When someone is closed-minded, no amount of explanation will change their opinion. They aren't listening to understand. They're listening to respond. Sigma men recognize this pattern and refuse to waste energy on it. Instead of becoming frustrated, they simply disengage. Many people continue arguing because they believe they can eventually convince the other person. A Sigma knows that some battles cannot be won because the other person isn't interested in truth. They're interested in protecting their own beliefs. This doesn't mean Sigma men avoid all disagreements. Healthy discussions can be valuable. They enjoy conversations that involve mutual respect and open-mindedness. What they avoid are endless arguments that lead nowhere. By refusing to argue with closed-minded people, Sigma men protect their mental energy and maintain their peace of mind. They understand that not every opinion requires a response and not every criticism deserves attention. Sometimes the smartest decision is simply walking away. 5. They trust their own judgment. A Sigma male spends a lot of time thinking, observing, and analyzing situations. Because of this, he develops strong trust in his own judgment. He doesn't make important decisions impulsively. He considers consequences, evaluates options, and chooses a path carefully. Once a decision is made, he doesn't feel obligated to justify it to everyone around him. He trusts the process that led him there. This self-trust is one of the reasons Sigma men appear confident and independent. Many people constantly seek second opinions because they fear making mistakes. A Sigma understands that mistakes are part of life. Even if a decision turns out to be wrong, he would rather learn from the experience than allow fear to control him. This mindset reduces his need for explanations. He doesn't require everyone else's approval because he already believes in his ability to make choices for himself. He accepts responsibility for both successes and failures. Trusting your own judgment doesn't mean ignoring advice. Sigma men are willing to learn from others. The difference is that they don't surrender their decision-making power. At the end of the day, they know they are the ones who must live with the consequences of their choices. 4. They protect their peace of mind. One of the biggest priorities in a Sigma male's life is protecting his peace of mind. He understands that mental peace is difficult to build and very easy to lose. That's why he becomes extremely selective about the people, environments, and situations he allows into his life. Many people constantly find themselves trapped in drama because they feel obligated to explain every decision they make. They argue with critics, defend themselves against rumors, and try to correct every misunderstanding. A Sigma sees this as a waste of energy. He knows that not every accusation deserves a response, and not every misunderstanding needs to be fixed. Sometimes the best way to protect your peace is to remain silent and move forward. Sigma men understand that the more they explain themselves, the more opportunities they give others to criticize, manipulate, or judge them. This doesn't mean they avoid responsibility. If they make a mistake, they own it. But they don't feel the need to constantly defend their choices to people who have no impact on their lives. By protecting their peace of mind, Sigma men maintain emotional balance and stay focused on their goals. Instead of being consumed by other people's opinions, they invest their attention in things that actually improve their future. That's why peace often becomes more valuable to a Sigma than approval. 3. They don't feel responsible for other people's opinions. One of the most liberating lessons a Sigma male learns is that he is not responsible for what other people think. No matter what you do in life, someone will criticize it. If you're successful, people may call you lucky. If you're struggling, people may judge you. If you follow your own path, some people will support you while others will question your decisions. A Sigma understands that trying to control other people's opinions is impossible. That's why he doesn't waste time explaining himself to everyone he meets. He knows that people will interpret his actions through their own experiences and beliefs. Some will understand him and some won't. Instead of constantly worrying about public perception, he focuses on living according to his values. He understands that seeking universal approval is a losing battle. The moment you start living for other people's opinions, you lose your freedom. This mindset gives Sigma men a powerful sense of independence. They don't allow criticism to define them, and they don't allow praise to control them either. Their self-worth comes from within, not from the reactions of others. Because they aren't responsible for everyone else's opinions, they feel no need to constantly defend themselves. They simply live their lives and let people think whatever they want. 2. They understand that respect can't be forced. Many people spend years trying to convince others to respect them. They explain themselves, defend their decisions, and seek validation in hopes of earning acceptance. Sigma men understand that genuine respect doesn't work that way. Real respect cannot be forced, negotiated, or demanded. A Sigma knows that if someone truly respects you, they will take the time to understand your perspective. If they don't respect you, no amount of explanation will change that. This realization changes the way he interacts with people. Instead of constantly trying to prove himself, he focuses on living with integrity. He understands that respect is earned through consistent actions, not endless words. People may doubt him at first, but over time, his behavior reveals who he really is. That's why Sigma men often prefer silence over long explanations. They know that actions build credibility far more effectively than arguments. This mindset also prevents them from becoming desperate for approval. They don't chase respect because they understand that true respect must be freely given. If someone refuses to recognize their value, they simply move on. They would rather maintain their dignity than waste energy trying to convince someone to appreciate them. For a Sigma, respect is something that naturally follows character, discipline, and consistency, not something that can be forced through endless explanations. 1. They have nothing to prove to anyone. The number one reason Sigma men rarely explain themselves is simple. They have nothing to prove. Many people spend their lives trying to impress others. They want recognition, approval, and validation. They feel pressured to justify every decision in order to protect their image. A Sigma male operates from a completely different mindset. He understands that his worth isn't determined by what other people think of him. He doesn't need strangers, coworkers, friends, or even family members to constantly approve of his choices. He knows who he is, what he believes, and where he's going. Because of that, he feels no need to explain every step of his journey. This confidence often takes years to develop. It comes from experience, self-reflection, and personal growth. A Sigma learns that no matter how much he explains himself, some people will still criticize him. Once he accepts that reality, he stops seeking permission to live his life. Having nothing to prove doesn't mean becoming arrogant. It means becoming secure. Secure people don't feel the need to constantly defend themselves because their confidence isn't dependent on outside approval. At the end of the day, a Sigma male understands that the strongest position is not convincing everyone that you're right. The strongest position is quietly building a life you're proud of without needing anyone else's validation, and that's why he rarely explains himself. At the end of the day, Sigma men don't avoid explaining themselves because they're rude, arrogant, or disrespectful. They simply understand something that most people learn much later in life. Not everyone deserves an explanation. A Sigma knows that constantly defending yourself is exhausting. The more you try to justify every decision, the more power you give to other people's opinions. That's why Sigma men choose a different path. They focus on their goals, trust their judgment, protect their peace, and let their actions speak louder than words. They understand that some people will misunderstand them, no matter how clearly they explain themselves. Others will judge them, no matter what they do. Instead of wasting time fighting those battles, they keep moving forward. The truth is, confidence isn't being able to explain yourself to everyone. Confidence is being able to make a decision and stand by it even when nobody understands it. And that's exactly what Sigma men do. They don't seek approval. They don't beg for understanding. And they certainly don't feel obligated to explain every step of their journey. Now, I want to ask you something. Which of these 10 reasons do you think is the biggest reason Sigma men never explain themselves? Is it because they protect their peace? Because they trust their own judgment? Or because they simply have nothing to prove? Let me know your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Sigma mindset, psychology, self-improvement, and personal growth content. Remember, a Sigma doesn't waste time explaining his path to people who aren't walking it. He stays focused, keeps moving forward, and lets his results do the talking.